it was planned.
Yeah.
The plan was to concentrate them so that they could ship them down to Palestine.
Yep. Yeah. And then that brings us to the newest stage wars. Let's start it from Vietnam War. As you know, that President Johnson wanted the war in Vietnam. He wanted to help his friends who own defense companies to do a little business. He needed a provocation to convince the American people that there was really no other choice than war. So then you have this incident in Gulf of Tonkin that the official story was that the North Vietnamese torpedo boats launched on an unprovoked attack on the USS Maddox while it was on routine patrol. So,
and as I was told by a close friend of mine who was in high school more recently than I, they never get to the Vietnam War.
Yeah. That's still, there's still nobody knows what happened. But then the other.
I never studied the Vietnam War in high school.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't want to because
they don't want you to know.
Now everybody knows the Gulf of Tonkin was a lie.
Yeah.
So then the question is the war happened not too long after Johnson got in there, correct?
Yeah. Correct. Absolutely. And then you get to the Bush Senior. It was the end of the Iran-Iraq War, and Saddam Hussein really was in need of money. But then he realized that globalists tricked him. He didn't have any money, and there was the invasion of Kuwait on the table. Americans actually showed the green light to Saddam Hussein to invade Kuwait to get his money. He did that because he thought Kuwait had money, but then he realized that was another trick. So then they showed this nurse in a hospital that how Iraqis treated the Kuwaiti kids.
With the babies,
yeah,
with the
incubators.
incubators.
Yeah.
That just, I didn't really realize what was going on because I was really, really, really young at the time of the second Gulf War. But I YouTubed, the first Gulf War, that's what I meant to say. Obviously wasn't that young the second.
Yeah.
But the first Gulf War, I was really, really young, and I YouTubed it. I YouTubed that, and I saw Bush talking about the babies with the incubators, and I thought, that is so lame. I can't believe people believe that.
You look back and you watch the way he talks. He's like, come on, here's a story, take it.
Yeah.
And the girl, the first thing that I noticed when I YouTubed that clip was the girl that was talking didn't even have an accent. She spoke perfect English.
Because
not just fluent, but perfect English.
You're right.
Because didn't you know that
she was the ambassador's daughter?
The ambassador's daughter, and nobody knew about it, I guess. But today we know about it.
Well, we know about it now, but it just seems so obvious to me.
And so lots of
listening to her.
Yeah, and nobody asked her like, why don't you pick up the babies now? Like, what's going on? Go ahead and pick up the babies. Like, what is stopping you of doing that? Just because she wanted to make that kind of artificial emotion for people, so they would buy the war. They wanted to sell the war basically to the public.
Well, I suppose the point was that the babies died because the incubators were gone.
Yeah.
But that doesn't even make sense. What would be the motive for stealing babies' incubators if there was a serious conflict?
Yeah.
It was a good script.
Yeah. But then we come to the other stage wars in Bosnia and how they provoke Americans to invade Yugoslavia, and then the weapons of mass destruction. I'm sorry, I have to kind of shorten it up. The weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, and we never found it, but we sent our daughters and brothers and sisters to the war, and finally we come to this newest war. Now they want to send us to another war with Iran. We have a clip. I hope we have enough time. It is called Wars and Lies on the World Stage. Is it possible that you play that clip for us? Yes.
You know, money for a nuclear weapons project. You could destroy thousands more than just yourself. For a suicide bomber, what could be more satisfactory than blowing up any chance of the world?
People in the third world will suffer a lot because of that. They may not die of an atomic explosion, but they will suffer tremendously.
There is a very deep desire in many people to support and be involved in violence.
If any large incident of terrorism would happen, it probably would happen over the equator. We have already have, 8 threats in this world, and perhaps 8.5 or 9. And if you have the capacity to enrich uranium, you can eventually make a bomb. That's not so difficult.
This president did escalate the covert war, the secret war inside Iran. We've been doing stuff inside Iran since '05, pretty heavily. So they believe that their mission is to make sure that before they get out of office next year, either Iran is attacked or it stops its weapons program. I do believe that. I think this is another example of putting an awful lot of pressure on the Iranian government. There's been a dramatic increase in kinetic events and chaos inside Iran. Almost every other day there's another story in the Iranian press. I write about this in the article too, about things blowing up, et cetera, et cetera. It looks like things are falling apart a little bit, and the central government certainly has more trouble. I do have some access into some of the thinking, particularly in the Vice President's office. They do not want, Bush and Cheney do not want to leave Iran in place with a nuclear program, but they believe a nuclear weapons program. They simply don't believe the national intelligence estimate that came out late last year that said they haven't done anything in military weapons, nuclear weapons since '03. They just don't believe it.
On July 18, 2008.
Back, you're watching the Econ TV, and that clip was about the recent stage war, which is the Iran-America war. I started laughing because it's so ridiculous. They talk about Ahmadinejad, and obviously Ahmadinejad is the Iranian version of Hitler to me. Lots of people don't buy that because they think really when he says, I'm against Zionism, even though I am a Zionist, or how he himself is the Iranian Hitler. He massacred Iranian protesters, students. He reduced Iranians' status quo to nothingness. And right now, Iranians are living in living hell, basically. So I don't buy that when he says, like, I'm against America. It's more like somebody like George Bush would say, like, I'm against the globalists. I want to fight with globalists. I would start laughing. I would just crack laughing. I was, dude, like, what are you talking about? So, what do you think about it?
Well, that's surprising for me to hear you say.
Okay.
I think he's right. I think Ahmadinejad is, he's done a lot of bad things, especially to the students.
Yeah. I mean, you can check that out on YouTube. Just say recent Iranian student movements. You can find lots of bad things, and especially like the Neda clip is the most famous one. Even though the Mossad was responsible for
all right, now
sniping.
Really?
Yeah, sniping down the Neda. All these things is they're supporting both sides.
Yeah, because I remember Condoleezza Rice talked publicly about the money that was set aside to go into Iran for public campaigns.
Yes. Yeah, so they're supporting both sides, but the opposition and the other side also, the Islamic regime. I just showed you how they support Zionists and Nazis, so go and figure it out. Okay, we're out of time. I'm so sorry. Any last word of wisdom?
Watch the next program because you'll learn a lot. I did.
Thank you. You, Jennifer?
It's been a very educational night.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for watching the Econ TV.